Death is the enemy, ya guys, and welcome to my review of Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 6. Woo, you guys, oh boy, this episode, so much to talk about, and it was an extended episode this week as well, which was quite nice. This week it was what, about an hour and 10 minutes, something like that, and yeah, apparently the season finale next week is supposed to be about an hour and 20 minutes, I want to say. So, oh boy, things are gonna go down. You guys, things are going to get wild and intense. I'm expecting some more major character deaths. So yeah, this week, weirdly enough, even though this was, you know, an extended episode, weirdly enough, we only visited like 3 locations. We were at Winterfell, we were Beyond the Wall, we were at Dragonstone. That was pretty much it. We didn't see anything with Sam and Gilly. We didn't see anything at King's Landing. So yeah, kind of a really contained episode in some ways, which I appreciated. So yeah, let's get going, you guys. Now, not gonna lie, when I do get to the Beyond the Wall portion of this review, I definitely did have some things to complain about, but yeah, the things that I have to complain about, they didn't ruin the episode for me at all. If anything, I was just kind of amused. We all know how this show can be on occasion, especially with the traveling around that the characters do, because the travel time is not really consistent on this show. We all know that, but we all accept it and go with it. But yeah, for whatever reason, yeah, I had a really difficult time accepting how speedy the traveling was in this episode, especially with Gendry, but like I said, we'll talk about that when I get to that portion of the review. So yeah, let's talk about Winterfell first, you guys. I think I'm done with Arya. I think I might be done with Arya. I mean, I don't know, maybe next week Arya will redeem herself, I'll love her again, but this week I was really pissed off at Arya, because for starters, she was threatening my favorite character, Sansa, and I did not appreciate that. So when we open on Winterfell, we have what at first appears to be this beautiful tender moment between Arya and Sansa, because they're up there looking out at Winterfell and reminiscing with one another, and yeah, it seems really beautiful and tender. But then Arya has to ruin the moment, you guys. She has to ruin the moment, because obviously the big thing, the big shocker that we got last week was, yeah, that whole cat and mouse game going on between Arya and Littlefinger knowing that Arya was watching and following him the entire time, and yeah, he planted that letter, the letter that Sansa ripped to Robb and whatnot. So yeah, Arya has all sorts of thoughts and opinions, and I mean, I guess it's understandable how Arya feels, you know. I mean, she's not been in Westeros, she's not been around Sansa, she doesn't really have any idea what's been going on, but still, it's kind of disappointing that Arya would have the opinions about Sansa that she does, you know what I mean, that she wouldn't trust Sansa, that she just automatically jumps to conclusions, and it's not fair, you know, it's really not fair. But yeah, the reminiscing aspect of this, I really like that story that Arya was telling to Sansa about the boys. They had left after they were shooting arrows. The arrows were down there. I went down there, I started shooting the arrows, and I just kept shooting them, you know, over and over, and then finally she said something about, oh, I heard the clapping of our father, and he was watching me the entire time. And then, yeah, the conversation, you guys, I have to look at my notes here. The conversation, it just takes this dramatic twist all of a sudden, because then Arya says something about, oh, now our father's dead by the Lannisters with your help. And then that's when she brings out the scroll, and Sansa's like, oh my god, where did you get that from? And yeah, this look of terror that passes over Sansa, you know, and I think her disbelief, like, man, I can't believe my sister is blackmailing me like this, and she has no idea the things I went through. She's not even attempting to listen to my point of view. She's just making these dramatic assumptions. So in Arya's eyes, this letter, she feels like this letter is proof that Sansa purposely betrayed their family, that Sansa didn't fight back for their family, and Sansa's trying to say, you know what, I did what I had to do. What else was I supposed to do? I had to survive down there. You weren't down there. You don't know what was happening to me and the things that they were threatening. And yes, Sansa brings up a good point. You know, Cersei was promising Sansa, oh, we won't do anything to your father. Your father will just take the black. And I think that's what Cersei wanted to do. You know, that was Cersei's plan. It was Joffrey that made that dramatic twist, and he beheaded Ned at the last moment, you know, because even then, because Cersei was even shocked about that. Cersei had no intention of Ned dying. She was shocked. She was shocked, like, just like everybody else, about what Joffrey did. But yeah, Arya is still saying to Sansa, well, you were stupid to believe them. You were stupid to believe the Lannisters and their promises. And then Arya even continues, and she reveals that, hey, I was there when our father got beheaded. I saw you in your pretty dress and your pretty hair and this and that. And this kind of riles up Sansa as well, because here's Arya making all of these accusations and blaming Sansa for not taking action. And then Sansa's like, well, what about you? You were there. Why didn't you take action? Why didn't you stop them? Which is a valid point, you know. Arya is all words over here. But yeah, when it came time, you know, when Ned was getting beheaded, yeah, Arya, she wasn't able to do anything. So yeah, neither sister was able to do anything, you know. But yeah, they're not listening to each other, and it's so frustrating, but so good. You know, I personally really like this tension between Sansa and Arya, because I think it just really adds to the narrative. It really adds to their characters in interesting, unique ways. And yeah, I think, you know, next week in the finale, we will see Sansa and Arya reunite, come back together as sisters, especially I think once they reveal that Littlefinger has done all this, that he's been manipulating the two of them to cause this rift between them. So yeah, I'm not too worried, you guys. I do have hopes that they will come back together as sisters. So yeah, this is just a very long conversation between Arya and Sansa, you guys. I got so many notes here, because yeah, where does the conversation go next? Yeah, Sansa just, yeah, really getting riled up and pissed off, which rightfully so. You know, if I was Sansa, I would be feeling the same way too. And yes, Sansa's going, you know, we're standing in Winterfell because of me, not because of Jon, because Jon did technically fail at that last hour, and it was Littlefinger and the Vale that came through in the end. So yeah, that was all Sansa's doing. Sansa and Littlefinger are the reason Winterfell is standing, and why the Starks have Winterfell, and the reason why the sisters are even together to begin with, you know? If the Boltons were still there, there's no way Sansa and Arya would be reunited. And then finally, you know, I wish Sansa could have just really went at Arya right here and just explained what happened to her at Winterfell with the Boltons, because Sansa is just kind of wording things in such a way. She's saying, I suffered things you'd never imagine. You would have never survived what I survived. And yeah, I just wanted Sansa to just bluntly come out and say it. You know, I was raped night after night after night by Ramsay Bolton, and I suffered through it, and this and that, you know. And yeah, Sansa doesn't mention any of it. She doesn't bring up any of it. And yeah, it's like, does Arya, I wonder if Arya even suspects any of that, or if she just doesn't believe anything. I don't know. I wish Arya would just open up her eyes and realize what Sansa had to suffer through, you know. Because yeah, compared to what Sansa had to suffer through, Arya didn't suffer nowhere near as much as Sansa. Okay, let's be real. Arya had it fairly good. Arya could handle herself, take care of herself over in Braavos. So yeah, this is where we get to the blackmailing, and Arya, you know, Arya's really messing and playing with Sansa here. You know, kind of these word games, this mind manipulation and whatnot. And yeah, Arya's pretty much threatening to blackmail Sansa if she has to, and saying, hey, I can use this letter and show the Lords of the North what you've been up to, and that it was you all along who betrayed our father, blah blah blah. Arya, god damn it. So of course this is pretty worrisome to Sansa, rightfully so, because the North is kind of divided, you know. The North is in a lot of turmoil up there, because the North, for starters, they're already upset with John taking off, and like their allegiances to John have been just shifting all over the place to begin with, because one moment they support John, then they don't support him, then they support him. It's just this back and forth, and I think Sansa is worried about the same thing happening to her, because right now she has the support of the North, but yet if Arya were to reveal this, would the North believe it? Would they even listen to her? Would they flip on Sansa just like that, like they flipped on John? So of course Sansa turns to the one person that, you know, she has his ear, and that's Littlefinger, of course, and they go in a room, they have this hushed conversation with one another, and Sansa's even going, where the hell did she get that letter? And Littlefinger, you guys, I love Littlefinger here, because he's just kind of standing there, you know, and he's like, I don't know. You know, man, you know, it's your fault. He knows, you know, he knows that his game here is working. So yeah, me being a Sansa and Littlefinger fan, I love this whole dialogue going on between them. Yeah, Littlefinger just really getting inside her head, really trying to get her, you know, to think multiple steps ahead. Now, something I was terribly kind of confused about, because Littlefinger, I think it was Littlefinger, he makes the suggestion about, oh, wouldn't Brienne help the two of you out? Because wouldn't she be honor bound to intercede if the two of you were to harm each other? Her job is to protect both Stark sisters. And then the very next scene that we get, we do see Sansa ordering Brienne to leave Winterfell and head down to King's Landing, because Sansa has received, in quotes you guys, she's received a letter from King's Landing that I guess Cersei wants to meet with Sansa. So my interpretation, this letter is not a real letter. This was just a letter fabricated by Sansa and most likely Littlefinger together in order to get Brienne out of Winterfell. But why exactly? That's where my confusion is a little bit. Now, I understand why Littlefinger would want Brienne out of Winterfell, because Brienne's a problem. You know, she's a big woman. She could take Littlefinger out with a snap of her fingers. So yeah, I understand Littlefinger's motives for getting Brienne out, but yeah, why would Sansa want to get Brienne out, you know? And yeah, Sansa, I love Sansa, you guys, but I did feel like she was being a little mean to Brienne, because she was just in there snapping at Brienne saying, you know, I am a grown woman now, I don't need your help, and I am commanding that you go down there in my place. And yeah, besides, Jaime won't hurt you. So yeah, just a really weird scene, kind of hard for me to decipher why exactly Sansa would get rid of Brienne. I mean, maybe that's just it though. Maybe like Littlefinger was saying, wouldn't Brienne feel honor bound to protect both Stark girls if they were at one another's throat? And maybe Sansa doesn't want Brienne there to intercede at all. Maybe Sansa wants to handle it herself if worst comes to worst, you know. I really don't know. I don't think this is going to make any sense until next week's episode, possibly. So the final, very dramatic, intense, terrifying moment at Winterfell. Sansa, was that Arya's bedroom? I guess, you know, I swear to God, it almost looked like Littlefinger's bedroom from last week. But I think it was Arya's bedroom. And Sansa, she goes under Arya's bed, she pulls out a bag, and there's the bag of faces. You guys, oh my God, that was so scary. And here comes Arya, and Arya, she was terrifying, you guys, absolutely terrifying. And I was pretty worried for Sansa, okay? I was like, oh my God, Arya is not going to kill her own sister, is she? Arya doesn't kill Sansa, thank God, but she sure does threaten Sansa. So Arya attempts to start the game of faces, and she's asking Sansa all of these questions, and even saying to Sansa, you know, I will know if you're lying to me, and if you're lying to me, oh well. Which I guess took to mean I'm going to kill you. But Sansa does not play the game of faces at all. Instead, she kind of flips the tables and she starts asking Arya the questions. Because of course, Sansa's pretty freaked out by these faces, okay? Like any normal person, this is pretty freaky. And the drama just escalates from here as there's this back and forth between Sansa and Arya. You just don't know what the hell's gonna happen. And yet, just over the course of the entire scene, I just really liked how this was filmed and edited, because yeah, Sansa stays in one place the entire time, and Arya just slowly over the course of the scene just makes her way closer and closer to Sansa, and the whole time I don't think Maisie Williams blinked the entire damn scene. Yeah, guys, it was so good. And just when you think Arya is about to maybe plunge that dagger into Sansa, Arya flips the dagger over and hands it over to Sansa. And the way she concludes the conversation here, she says something like, "All I need to find out is your face." And I think that's how I wrote it. I think that's how she said it. All I need to find out is your face. And I think Arya, she's giving, my interpretation anyway, I think Arya is attempting to give Sansa one final shot. And if Sansa fails this, Arya will kill her sister if she has to. And yeah, like she said, I just need to find out your face. And I think she wants to find out where Sansa really is, what her true feelings are. Is she power hungry? Is she scheming with Littlefinger? This and that. And yeah, I think Arya giving Sansa the dagger, I think maybe Arya is thinking, maybe she's like, I want you to use this dagger on Littlefinger, perhaps? You know, like, if you kill Littlefinger, that will prove to me that you are a Stark, that you are here for our family, that you didn't betray us, perhaps? I don't know. It's all sorts of just crazy here. Yeah, guys, because, yeah, what is up with Arya giving Sansa the dagger? What is her intent there? What will it mean to Arya if Sansa passes this test? And Littlefinger's death has been one that we've been predicting all season, and yeah, the popular theory has been that Arya would kill Littlefinger, but yeah, now that Arya has handed over the dagger to Sansa, I am really hoping Sansa is the one that kills Littlefinger. I will get the most satisfaction from her killing him rather than Arya killing him. But yeah, I don't know. You know, will Sansa be able to do it if it happens? I don't know. Will the dagger go back to Arya at some point? It's just funny because this dagger has passed between all of the Starks at some point. I mean, even if you want to go back to season 1, you know, Catelyn had the dagger at some point, Ned had it, Bran got it, but then gave it away to Arya, and now Sansa has it. It's just kind of amusing. That dagger has passed to each and every Stark at some point. And I think it's always the test of, well, what will they do with this dagger? You know, if you want to look at it that way, the tests that each Stark has to go through, what they do with that dagger. So yeah, I have spent a very long time talking about Winterfell, just so intense, so good, but also frustrating at the same time, you know, because we love Sansa, we love Arya, we want the two of them to make up, be sisters again. So hopefully that happens next week. You know, hopefully Sansa passes whatever this stupid test is that Arya is doing on her. So, crossing my fingers, you guys. It should be pretty intense at Winterfell next week, and crazy. And to be quite honest, you guys, I'm very surprised Littlefinger didn't die this week. I was fully expecting him to die by the end of this episode. So yeah, he manages to escape in another episode yet again. Okay, let's move on from the drama at Winterfell and move on to Dragonstone. We don't have too much at Dragonstone. We have a few little random scenes here, and it's mostly all just Tyrion voicing his concerns about where Daenerys is heading, if she might turn out like her father, and more importantly, Tyrion very concerned about the succession, if you will. He's very concerned about her death, and if Dany dies, all is lost, because what happens then? Who do they move to after that? So before we do get Tyrion's concerns about Dany possibly dying in the future, we do have this quick suggestion by Tyrion, because Dany's talking about all the men in her life, and Tyrion, he brings it up. He's like, well, I think Jon Snow might have a crush on you, just like every other man in your life. And I think Dany kind of brushes it off. You know, she's like, oh, he don't like me. He can't even stand me. So after that little moment, which I think was total foreshadowing for the end of the episode, yeah, guys, with Dany and Jon, total foreshadowing. I loved it. But yeah, moving on from that little part, it sounds like Tyrion and Daenerys, they're considering heading down to King's Landing to talk with Stacie, have some sort of peaceful negotiation here. And Tyrion, once again, just urging caution about heading down to King's Landing, urging that, you know, Stacie, on the surface, she may look like she wants to negotiate with you, but in reality, no. The first opportunity she gets, she's going to kill you. And then I also liked Tyrion bringing up the Tarleys again, because they died quite brutally last week, and I'm still upset about that. I'm still upset that the Tarleys died. Like I said last week in my review, I'm not so much upset that Randall Tarley died, because he was a jackass anyway, because he was so mean to Sam. But yeah, Dickon, I'm still just so upset about Dickon, because I think that was kind of pointless to kill him. But like Dany's saying, you know, she had to prove a point, she had to show strength, even though it was terrible to do, she had to do it. And yeah, she asked them multiple times, are you going to bend the knee? And they said no. So I mean, she has her valid point of view there, but then yeah, Tyrion has his point of view. You know, you need to understand your enemies, and in order to understand your enemies, you need to understand their points of view as well in order to predict their next moves, in order to defeat them. So yeah, some more questioning about the succession and the event of Daenerys' death. And you know what, I'm glad Tyrion brought that up, because I've never thought about it. This entire show, for 7 seasons now, I've never considered, wait a minute, what happens if Dany does die? I mean, the obvious thing is, because we know that Jon Snow is a Targaryen, and he's a legitimate Targaryen, as Gilly discovered last week. So, I mean, there's always been that, but yeah, the rest of the realm, Westeros, they don't know anything about Jon. You know, Bran's the only one who has any idea about Jon. So, yeah, I mean, where would the succession go? Does Dany have any... Does she have any options, you know, any choices? Because she even says to Tyrion, I'm never going to have children, you know? So, yeah, who does come after Daenerys? So, before we do head beyond the wall, just to finish up Dragonstone here, because I guess Gendry's letter does arrive by Raven so quickly. Yeah, guys, like I said, we'll complain about how quick some of the travel time was beyond the wall, because it was a little ridiculous. It was super noticeable, because sometimes it's not really that noticeable on this show, the travel time, because I really don't care about how fast characters travel. It's a fantasy show, you know, you just gotta move on with it. You can't spend hours and hours and days on the road. But yeah, Gendry's letter arriving so quickly to Daenerys was a little ridiculous. But yeah, we don't see Daenerys get the letter, I don't think, but yeah, the next scene that we do get with her, we do see her heading out. She's dressed in all white. I loved this outfit, you guys. This was such a badass outfit, just all white. But then yeah, the back of the dress, something about it almost mimicking a dragon, you know what I mean? Because there was something about the back of the dress, because the back of the dress was like a tannish color, a brownish color, and yeah, kind of mimicking the scales of a dragon. I thought that was so awesome. And yeah, Dany's heading out to go help Jon Snow, the Magnificent Seven, if you will. And I want a Funko Pop of Daenerys in this outfit, okay? Funko has made, I'm looking at my Funko Pops over here, they've made tons of Daenerys Pops. I want one now with her in this white dress. And Tyrion, he's just trying to get through to Daenerys once again, like, woman, if you die, everything is doomed. It's all lost. We can't afford you dying. You know, who's going to take the throne if you die, and this and that. And yeah, Daenerys don't care. She's going out there. She's the queen. She's just heading right out there to go help Jon Snow. And just a beautiful shot here, you guys. I love this shot of Daenerys taking off on Drogon, and you know, there's the cliff, and they're all kind of plummeting down and then rising back up. And I love that shot of Drogon and then Viserion and Rhaegal, and yeah, Tyrion kind of walking to the edge of the cliff, and just this worry. You know, you can see the fear and the worry and the panic all over Tyrion's face. Just well done by Peter Dinklage once again. So let's move beyond the wall. Yeah, guys, there's so much to discuss here. I feel like a lot of it we can kind of skim over, talk about very, very quickly. Yeah, for a good portion of the episode, Beyond the Wall, a good portion of it is spent with all of these men talking with one another. I was kind of concerned that it would be nothing but action the entire time, you know, fighting the White Walkers, but I appreciated that we had a lot of manly discussion going on here. You know, these men talking and conversing, and a lot of these men have problems with each other. You know, Gendry and the Brotherhood, Jorah and Thoros, Tormund and Jorah, you know, there's the Hound who's always grumpy with everybody. You know, just a lot of conflict with this group of men, and they all have issues with each other. So I really appreciated the amount of conversation going on here, and a lot of loose ends in some way being finished, you know, especially just little minor things. So yeah, I'm just going to look at my notes here to kind of quickly go through a lot of this conversation, because yeah, we definitely want to spend a good chunk of this review talking about the battle. But yeah, for starters, Gendry, he's cold. That was hilarious. This is the first time he's ever seen snow. Yeah, Gendry, he's still angry with the Brotherhood, and he's telling them about what Melisandre did to him, what she intended, and yeah, he was worried about dying. And then one of my favorite moments was Jon attempting to give Jorah back Longclaw. And you know what? This is something I kind of totally forgot about. I mean, not forgot about, but just didn't consider, because you know, back in season 1, when the Lord Commander gave Jon Longclaw, he said, oh, it used to have a bear on the pommel, and it used to belong to my son Jorah, but Jorah, he betrayed the family, and I'm going to give this to you now, Jon Snow, and look, I put the dire wolf on there for you. So yeah, I mean, this kind of dates all the way back to season 1 with Longclaw, and I love this moment. I absolutely love this moment with Jorah and Jon trying to give Longclaw back and saying, you know, this is not mine. This belonged to you and your family. I want you to take it. And I'm kind of glad Jorah he was like, no, you keep it, Jon. You know, I'm kind of glad Jorah just let Jon keep it, because this sword is very much Jon Snow's sword, you know? And I think there's a part of Jorah, he still doesn't entirely forgive himself in some ways. You know, I think he still blames himself for the things that he did in his past, and he still needs to atone for his past crimes. And yeah, this sword, he feels like it still does not rightfully belong to him. And some foreshadowing here, you guys. Some very obvious foreshadowing, I think, because Jorah, he hands Longclaw back to Jon, and he says, what does he say? Let me look at my notes. He says, it will serve you well and your children after you. You guys, Jon and Dany, they're totally going to get it on. They're going to have children. Longclaw is going to be passed down to Jon and Dany's children. I'm calling it. Is it obvious? It's so obvious. And you know, the tragedy, oh, the poor tragedy is it's coming from Jorah. Jorah, who loves Daenerys, and here he is giving it to Daenerys' possibly future husband. So yeah, going through some of these things quickly. Yeah, Tormund, talking about Brienne, the plans that he has with Brienne. You know, I thought for sure, because of the way Tormund was talking about Brienne, I was like, oh, damn it. Tormund, he's doomed. He's gonna die. He's not gonna get to be with Brienne like he has hopes for. But yeah, we'll talk about Tormund later, because that was another shocker. Tormund didn't die as expected, or predicted rather. But yeah, when Tormund does talk about Brienne, you know, he's talking to the Hound, and the Hound, the features, when Tormund describes Brienne's features, the Hound immediately is like, that's Brienne of fucking Tarth. And then moving on from the Hound and Tormund, we have Beric and Jon Snow having a lovely little conversation there. You know, I can listen to Beric Dondarrion for hours. You guys, his voice, I love his voice. Is it just me? I love Beric's voice. There's just something to his voice that's really, I don't know, it just really grips you. But Beric makes some interesting remarks here, because he knew Ned Stark in the past, and he even says, Jon, you don't look like Ned Stark very much. You must favor your mother. So yeah, another hint there, an obvious hint to us, the audience. Oh, nudge nudge, he's a Targaryen, you guys. That's why he doesn't look like Ned Stark. And then I think Beric has one of the best lines of dialogue in this whole episode, because they're just sitting there talking, and they're talking about, oh, death is the enemy, and this and that, and we have to defeat it, you know. So yeah, I love that whole part with Beric and Jon. And then we get a random bear attack, yeah guys. This came out of nowhere. It was so terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. And poor Thoros, I'm kind of surprised Thoros didn't just die immediately, but Thoros, during this bear attack, he gets brutally mauled. Poor dude. You know what? He's the one who brings Beric back to life 6 times, like he said, couldn't Thoros do the same to himself? You know, like magical healing with his god? I mean, he wasn't dead, but still, he could have maybe healed himself, possibly. I don't know. Maybe the Lord of Light doesn't heal. Maybe he only brings people back from the dead. And the CG on this dead bear was pretty well done, I think. It was so scary. Oh my goodness. So let's get to the ending, you guys. There was so much that kind of transpires this entire ending. Let's hope I cover it all. We do see this group of men, our leading heroes here, if you will. We do see them all stumble across a little small grouping of a White Walker with some whites. So yeah, this is their ideal opportunity to try and attempt to capture a white, because it's a small little group. It should be easier to handle, because yeah, they don't want to handle the big gigantic large army, that's for sure. So yeah, some interesting reveals here, I think, because we have this nice little fight and battle. The whites are going down, they're able to capture one, and weirdly enough, John, he is able to cut down the lead White Walker, very much like what he did at Hardhome, because of his Valerian steel sword and whatnot. So that kind of happens quickly, it's over and done with, and yeah, when that guy dies, all of the whites around him, they just collapse and die as well. So yeah, I mean, something interesting here, something a little frustrating too, because, I mean, John killed the White Walker back at Hardhome, and we didn't see a bunch of whites fall around then, but yeah, John, somebody does mention maybe that White Walker, he had created these guys, and yeah, with his death they die too, you know. So I don't know, it is a little frustrating trying to understand the logic here, if that's even the reason and the cause. But yeah, why didn't the white die? You know, the one random white, the one that they were capturing, why didn't he die at all? Why did all the others die? So yeah, that's really weird and strange and doesn't really make much sense at all. Either way, let's go beyond the logic here, because I think it is. We can just sit here and go in circles here trying to figure out what the hell this was about. But I mean, yeah, this is also a little concerning, because it almost feels like a Deus Ex Machina in some ways, you know what I mean? That all they have to do is kill the White Walkers, and then they kill off a bunch of whites in the process. So I don't know, it's a little concerning for future episodes in regards to the White Walkers. Either way, the most important thing is that they've captured a white, they tie him up, they put a hood on him, they gag him, but oh no, here comes the whole damn White Walker army. And oh my god, yeah, this is where things start to get you gotta suspend your disbelief. You know, this is where you gotta suspend your disbelief, or else the episode is kind of ruined for you in some ways. You just gotta go with it. Because here comes the army, and they're like, Gendry, you're the fastest. You need to go back to Eastwatch and write a letter to Daenerys and tell her to get her ass down here with her dragons and help save us. So Gendry takes off. Yeah, guys, he's running full speed. How the hell he makes it back to Eastwatch in one piece without getting attacked, and more importantly, how he gets there so quickly. He gets there super fast, you guys. And it's just upsetting too, because I was looking forward to Gendry being part of this band of brothers, you know. I was looking forward to him fighting and killing some White Walkers, and he really only gets to be put into action twice. He gets to fight with the bear, and he gets to fight with that little small unit of White Walkers, but I'm a little upset and disappointed he didn't get to stay there with the other guys. So in the meantime, while Gendry is making his very fast way back to Eastwatch, we see that the rest of the guys, they run out on this lake, but it starts cracking and breaking underneath them. And yet, man, oh my god, that part, you see John running, and you can see kind of the White Walkers coming around them. Oh my god, it was so terrifying. Either way, all of our leading characters, they're able to get up on this rocky platform. The ice is breaking around them. The White Walkers and the Whites, they're kind of postponed here. They can't do anything. But it's such a chilling image. The way this whole thing was shot, you guys, with our leading characters in the middle, the White Walkers and the Whites all around, just so so beautifully shot and terrifying and chilling and creepy, because it's silent. That's the thing too, it's very, very silent, which really adds to the atmosphere. So the very next morning, because I guess they spent the whole night there, you know, just keeping watch, not moving, not saying a word, being terrified, obviously. So yeah, the next morning, poor Thoros has died overnight in his sleep, you guys. His wounds got to him. That was kind of sad. I did predict last week that Thoros would die, because Thoros, he felt like a very obvious candidate for death. And then the Hound, you guys, the Hound does something so foolish and stupid. I blame this whole ending on the Hound for his stupidity. The Hound, he's sitting there tossing rocks at the whites, and one of his rocks doesn't make it all the way there, so it's skidding across the ice. And that's when the whites, you know, even though they appeared like dumb creatures, it appears that they have some sort of intelligence there, because they realize, wait a minute, that rock just skidded across the ice. The lake has refroze. We can walk across the ice now. So, oh no, way to go, Hound. Way to go. So we have this really intense fight sequence, you guys. Just utterly terrified. I don't even have the words. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. I had my hands up like this to my face. I was expecting everybody to die. And the shocking thing, Thoros is really our only major casualty in this episode, because as predicted, the few random guys that were with them, those random guys were the first to go, obviously. And then yeah, Thoros goes, and Tormund, I liked how they did the editing here, and the music more especially, because the way the music and the editing was going, and Tormund is being dragged under the water by the whites, it almost looks like Tormund is about to die, and it's gonna be sad and emotional. But then at the last minute, I can't even remember who pulls him out of the lake just in time, but yeah, Tormund is saved. Tormund does not die, because yeah, I predicted last week, I thought for sure Tormund was a goner. And then Beric as well. I was under the assumption that Beric would die as well, but no, Beric makes it out alive too. And oh my god, such a badass, you guys. I love this whole episode. Beric, he just raises the sword and then does this to it and the flames go up. It was so awesome. I loved it. I want Beric in every episode now, you guys. I want him in every episode, just flaming up the sword. So very much at the Battle of the Bastards, you know, Jon and company, they are circled by the whites and the White Walkers. There's nowhere to go. You almost get this look in Jon's eyes like, oh god damn it, not again, all hope is lost. And you just see almost this acceptance on Jon, you know, death is coming for me, there's nothing I can do. And he's having these flashbacks to Battle of the Bastards probably. But yeah, out of nowhere, like Littlefinger in the Vale, here comes Daenerys and the dragons, yeah guys. The flames are going, massive units of the whites are being destroyed. Couldn't she have targeted the Night's King, you guys? Seriously, why did she not target the Night's King? And this is where some of my frustration with the episode is, where the logic just doesn't make any sense. I don't want to complain about it too much, because yeah, I love this episode. You know, I love this episode for what it was, but yeah, it's just certain little moments like this, because for starters, how far away were they from Eastwatch? You know what I mean? They clearly walked a very far distance away from Eastwatch, and yeah, Gendry runs all the way back without stopping, without any sort of rest. And then yeah, you gotta think too, by the time Gendry gets back, by the time he writes the letter, by the time the Raven gets to Daenerys, by the time Daenerys receives the letter and then takes off on the dragons to get here, you know, it would have to have been several days, wouldn't it have? You know what I mean? It had to have been several days for all of this to happen, but in the time frame of the show, it almost seems like it's about maybe 24 hours, if even that. So yeah, that's kind of my one complaint about this episode, because like I said earlier, I can suspend my disbelief when it comes to the travel, you know, because you have to when it comes to this show, because there's so many characters, so many plots, and you can't spend the entire damn time focus on people traveling around, you know? You have to move the plot forward. But yeah, this was one of those instances, it's like, this is really throwing me off here, because there's no way Gendry would have got back as quick as he did, the Raven would have got to Daenerys as quick as it did, and then Daenerys getting there as quick as she did. So, yeah, just gotta suspend it, I suppose. Just go with it. Either way, let's move on to the most dramatic part of this episode, because you're sitting there clapping and cheering, the whites are getting burned, and the dragons look so awesome and so badass, and then what does the Night King do, you guys? The Night King, he pulls out his big ice spear, and it's like the Olympics. The Night King needs to join the Olympics, what is it, the javelin team or something? The Night King, he just raises his big, huge, gigantic ice spear, he tosses it with perfect aim, and it goes right into Viserion. You guys, right into Viserion. There goes Viserion. You see the blood. Oh my god, that trail of blood up in the sky just coming from Viserion. Viserion hits the ice. He immediately sinks into the ice. I had so many conflicting emotions here because I was like, oh my god, the Night King is such a fucking badass. He just took that spear and killed a dragon. You know, something that Qyburn's, his crossbow, the scorpion, that scorpion couldn't even do anything to Drogon. But yeah, the spear just killed Viserion like nothing. And yet you could see Dany, Dany is watching this. She's watching one of her babies crash into that ice and go under. It was so heartbreaking and devastating. I mean, and then yeah, Rhaegal and Drogon. I wish they would have focused on them a bit more, like kind of zoomed in on their faces, showing emotion on the dragon's face, but you can hear them, you can clearly hear the pain in Drogon and Rhaegal as they lose one of their own. Whew, okay, so what else happened, you guys? There's so much that happened here at the ending, oh my god. So yeah, Jon, he falls in the ice, you guys. He falls in the ice, he's being dragged under by some whites. So Dany, she has to get out of there, she has to get out of there with what she has left, with who is left. And I about screamed because Jorah about nearly fell off Drogon. That was such a cool shot though, seeing all of these characters on a dragon. And yeah, they're holding out on Jon. We're not going to see Jon on a dragon until the finale or until next season. So let's get to my one final complaint with this episode. Or maybe not so much a complaint, maybe just disappointment and frustration, I suppose. I don't even know. But either way, Jon finally does resurface from the lake. Somehow he's managed to get out of that situation, but thank God, I'm not going to question it. Yeah, I had these flashbacks to Titanic, you guys. When Jack is with Rose on the little thingy, the little door, or whatever that was, the piece of the ship, and he's just sitting there and he's freezing to death. Jon Snow looked like Jack Dawson freezing to death. So when Jon does finally resurface, he's got to be suffering some hypothermia. At least his clothes are frozen solid. And here comes the Night King and the Whites. They've returned. They're about to attack Jon again. But then here comes Benjen. You guys, Benjen, yes. And you know what? I was considering this briefly a couple days ago. I started thinking about it a couple days ago because I was thinking, oh, it's going to be very predictable that Daenerys is going to come and save these guys. And then I briefly was like, you know what about Benjen? We know that Benjen is beyond the wall, and we know how capable he is at destroying these things. So I did briefly consider Benjen coming back, and then sure enough, right at the last second, here comes Benjen with his cool fire thingy that he spins around. I don't even know what to call that thing, but it's so awesome and so badass. Benjen does take out some whites. He does save Jon. He gives Jon his horse. And then Benjen's like, you gotta go, you gotta leave. And Jon, I love that look on Jon, because Jon, I think he's already suffering from hypothermia, and then I think he's in shock that here's my Uncle Benjen, who's been lost for years now. And yeah, just Jon has this look on his face, and he's like, Uncle Benjen, and then he's like, you have to come with me. Jon, he goes, Benjen just has him leave with the horse. And this is just one of those things I'm so upset about, because a question is Benjen dead? We see him, he gets completely covered in the whites. Is he dead? Is he just going to randomly appear next season? He's okay. He managed to defeat those whites. I don't know. I don't know if this is the last of Benjen. If it's the last of Benjen, I'm going to be very upset and sad. Because it was just so quick. It was so quick. Just Benjen coming out of nowhere. Almost like a Deus Ex Machina for Jon Snow. And then Jon and Benjen just have this moment. You guys, literally, it's like 5 seconds of a moment between Jon and Benjen. And that's it. and John's probably never gonna get to see his uncle ever again. He's been waiting years for this, and it's probably never gonna happen again, and it's so sad and upsetting and disappointing, and I just don't know what to think. Okay, so we move on from all that drama, you guys. Let's return to Eastwatch. We see that the dragons, it looks like they're mourning, you know, just listening to them. It sounds like Drogon and Rhaegal are mourning for Viserion. It's so pitiful. Oh my goodness. And there's Dany up there with Jorah. She's waiting for Jon. At first I was like, is she waiting for Viserion? Does she think Viserion's just going to appear out of nowhere and turn to her? He's not dead. But then, yeah, she looks down at the forest. You know, we clearly see that Dany is looking down at the forest. So she's waiting for Jon to come back. And then, yeah, Jon, he just pops out of the trees. There he is. And we got some sexy times going on here. Yeah, guys, or almost sexy times. Still, Jon, his shirt being removed, that's sexy times enough for me. I'll take it. You know what? This is so, it's funny because the other day, because my sister, she has just now started watching season 5. She's a couple seasons behind, unfortunately, but we just started watching season 5 together. And my sister was asking me about the scars on Jon's chest. She was asking, oh, what do the scars look like now? Are they still on his body? Has he ever taken his shirt off? And I was even saying to my sister, you know what? They've never shown Jon with his shirt off after him coming back from the dead. So yeah, I've been wondering, you know, what does he look like under there? You know, has it all healed up at all? So yeah, we do finally get a look at what his scars look like under there, and they're still pretty rough and brutal to look at. And guess who else gets a full look at Jon Snow's chest, you guys? Daenerys Targaryen. So yeah, a couple things here. I think she's thinking, oh my goodness, Jon Snow is sexy, you guys. I've just been seeing him in all these heavy furs and leather, but my god, look at his chest. But then another thing, you know, all season, she's been talking about, well, what was that remark Davos made about Jon, about him giving his life and getting stabbed in the chest, you know? So she's been questioning that all season. She finally gets a look at his chest that, okay, Davos was not lying. He has apparently really gone through something. I need to ask him about that. And we get this beautiful moment between Jon and Daenerys, you guys. And Jon, he feels so guilty and sorry because he blames himself, obviously. You know, he blames himself. You know, I'm the one who wanted to go on this mission. I'm the one who wanted to get this white. And you know what? Did they get the white? I don't even remember if the white was on the back of Drogon when they all took off. I can't remember. I guess we'll find out next week if they did really capture that white. But yeah, Jon, he feels sorry. He feels miserable. He feels ashamed for going on this mission because, yeah, Daenerys lost one of her dragons in the process. But Daenerys is not sorry. She immediately says to him, I'm not sorry. I'm glad you went on this mission because now I have seen what you have seen. I believe you now. And I know now what is important. What's important is destroying this army. I need to set aside my differences with Cersei for the time being. And it seems like that's what's going to happen next week. Judging from the commercial, it looks like we're going to have Daenerys, Jon, Cersei. They're all going to be in a room together, negotiating. Is it going to work? Who knows? I guess we'll see. And then Jon, you guys, oh my god, this whole time they're holding hands. It's so beautiful and sweet. They're aunt and nephew, you guys. It's weird, but I love it. And we have this really sweet, adorable moment because Jon, he calls her Dany. And you know what? When you think about it, no one has ever called Daenerys Dany except for Viserys, you know, back in season 1. Because even Jorah has never referred to her as Dany, I don't think. And Tyrion's never referred to her as Dany. And yeah, it's just funny because we, the fandom, whenever we talk about Daenerys, a lot of times we call her Dany, you know? So yeah, I mean, that was kind of strange. Here's Jon calling her Dany. She's not been called Dany since season 1, I think, by Viserys, if I'm not mistaken. And it's so sweet, it's so adorable. And then finally Jon says something about, I'll call you my queen then. And he's even saying, if I could bend the knee, I would, but I can't right now. So yeah, just Jon and Daenerys finally coming to this mutual understanding with one another. You know, she sees him, he sees her, and I think they see each other as equals now. And like I said, lots of hand-holding, lots of eye-gazing, eye-googling, and yeah, there's him with his shirt off. I thought for sure, you guys, I'm not joking, I was like, oh my god, they're going to jump into bed right now with each other. But no, it didn't go that far. It looked like it was about to go that far, but it didn't, thank God. I was getting a little worried. It's like, even though I want to see it, I don't want to see it just yet. I want the sexual tension to build up, if you will. So yeah, Danny and John, I think they kind of realize there's this awkwardness going on between them, that there's something more going on between them. So they finally unlock hands, they back away, they depart. Whew. So yeah, you guys, how do you guys feel about Jon and Daenerys? I know it's pretty heated in the fandom because there's the people who love Jon and Daenerys, there's the people who don't want them together at all. So yeah, how do you guys feel about Jon and Daenerys? I'm very curious. But yeah, to end this review, we go back beyond the wall. We see that the Whites, they have these big huge chains. They're bringing Viserion back up through the lake, you guys. And sure enough, perhaps one of the most predictable things that could have ever happened. The Night King, he goes up to Viserion and he touches him, and then there goes Viserion, his eyes open, you see the big huge blue eyes, and we got an undead ice dragon, you guys. And this is something, for the last couple seasons now, there's been all of these fan theories that, oh, the Night King, he will turn one of Dany's dragons into an undead dragon, an ice dragon. And yeah, the popular theory has always been Viserion. It would happen to Viserion because Drogon is Dany's dragon, and then plus Rhaegal, we've always suspected that Jon will eventually ride Rhaegal at some point, you know, because of Rhaegar being his father. So yeah, I mean, perhaps the most predictable things, you know, the Night King bringing back Viserion, and the fact that it is Viserion, we've all been predicting that for seasons now. We assumed all that correctly. And this was definitely a case of, you know what, the fans, they have been wanting this for seasons, we're gonna give it to them. And I'm not gonna complain, you know, I'm part of that group of fans that I've been wanting to see an ice dragon, so I'm not gonna complain that this is total fan service, because this is what I've been wanting. So, oh no, you guys, the Night King, he has an ice dragon now. What does this mean? Oh no. Okay, you guys, I need to end this review. It is incredibly freaking long. I love this episode, even though there were some things to kind of complain about, some things that just logically didn't make no sense. I'm just moving on from it. You know, I'm moving on from it because I love this show too much to just ponder on the things that were just a little off and weird. But yeah, you guys, what did you guys think about this episode? Did you love it? Maybe you hated it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.